would dare stop me from being able to say true things that are psychopathic. Hold on, I gotta block this person. Dude, like, god damn, nothing more annoying than fucking annoying ass like salespeople that fucking just spam you with shit. Okay. France just made demonstrations for Palestine illegal. Oh my god, dude. Okay. The French Interior Minister has issued a blanket ban on protests in solidarity with Palestine. For months, Emmanuel Macron's government has joined the far right in denouncing Islamo-leftism, a war on anti-racist movements that is now undermining basic civil liberties. It's great, dude. Obviously, these guys
will make excuses for any level of violence in the same way that members of the radical Democratic Party make excuses for people burning down cities and murdering people. In the United States, they make excuses for Hamas firing rockets indiscriminately into civilian areas. Now, again, this is all anti-factual. Sumya Santosh is a 32-year-old Indian woman who, in order to care for her 9-year-old boy, found work in Ashkelon caring for an 80-year-old woman. And she was blown up by Hamas, like yesterday. 19-year-old...
Wait, if Ben tried to do an accounting of all the people that died in Israeli rocket fire, this video would be literally like 40 minutes long for the record. 2 women died in Israel yesterday. They died when they fell, and this is not even a joke. Like, and by the way, it's still fucking horrible, obviously. But 2 women died in Israel yesterday as they fell when they were escaping to a bomb shelter. For the record. And that is because of the Iron Dome. And I don't even have a problem with the Iron Dome. I've talked about how fucking wonderful it is and how wild it is. But he's going to list all the Palestinians he considers people. Yeah.
Yehuda Guetta from Libya was shot and killed earlier this week by a Palestinian American named Muntasser Shalabi, who's motivated, according to his neighbors, by equal parts Jew hatred and heavy gambling deaths.
Wait, what? What the fuck's he talking about? Is he like bringing up... Dude, I mean, Israelis fucking died in the past couple of days. Like, you don't have to go and like... What? You don't have to go and find like other instances where like a Palestinian person like murdered an Israeli person or something. Like, you don't have to bring up like random acts of fucking violence. Like, there's already like Hamas rockets that fucking killed Israeli people. It's so weird that he's just like...
Deaths. According to Tablet Mag, the basic attempt to conflate American racial politics with the Middle East is not only intellectually dishonest, but has terrible motivations. Okay, and this is, by the way, why you are seeing Jews getting beat up in different places in the United States. Yesterday in Florida, there was a truck that was driving around Jewish rallies that saying Hitler was right. Okay, the conflation between anti-Zionism and anti...
What the fuck? Dog, are you fucking insane? Are you insane, dude? I wonder in Florida, the guy who was saying Hitler was right, I wonder what his political motivations were. He was probably a Ben Shapiro watcher, you fucking jackass. Now that's one. Those are your people, you fucking piece of shit. That's one. And 2, like, imagine fucking creating a ground for so many white supremacists to pop up on YouTube in your fucking alt-right pipeline and then getting upset when they come out against you because you're Jewish. So that's 1, okay? And 2, the literal Trump supporters, okay? The left murders Nazis. The left doesn't create Nazis, you fucking idiot, okay? And what I am confused by is, like, he's, like, trying to claim that this is creating, like, anti-Semitism among Nazis in America, in Florida? Like, what the fuck kind of take is this, dude? Yeah, fuck those Nazis, okay? Except when I call motherfuckers like that Nazis, Ben is literally the first person on the line to be like, hold on now, hypothetically, what if this person wasn't anti-Semitic and only demonstrated their white supremacist attitudes towards Muslims and blacks, which I agree with, in which case they probably should not be robbed of their youth and robbed of their future. Hypothetically speaking, we should protect the freedom of speech of these people, unless they are anti-Semitic, in which case, hypothetically speaking, then fuck them. Yeah, Palestinians call Charlottesville. Ben's about to be like, all of these... yeah, he's... Hold on, here. This is me doing my Ben Shapiro, my Ben Shapiro here, okay? Hypothetically, ladies and gentlemen, hypothetically, what you are seeing here are a bunch of Palestinians saying Jews will not replace us. Hypothetically, none of these people are actually Ben Shapiro fans, but instead, they are all technically Palestinians. Look, here's another photo of a bunch of Palestinians. Do you see this? Look at all these Palestinians here. Actually, yeah, like literal neo-Nazis, dude. Hitler was right. Neo-Nazis arrive at pro-Israel rally in van covered with hate speech. We rally for peace in this van filled with hate. Call for genocide. Threads keep circling. Thank you for our local law enforcement. No, but guys, these guys wearing SS t-shirts, I mean, they're Palestinians. Guys, obviously, I mean, they have a Palestinian flag, hypothetically, so they must be Palestinians. I mean, look at them. They seem to be really big advocates of Palestine. I mean, look at this, dude. Like, how can you look at this story and be like, I can't believe that the Palestinians would do this? Master race. Why is everybody who says master race looks like they Heil Hitler, dude? Literally, everyone who's master race is just fucking... Sorry to say this, people are gonna get mad because I'm like ugly shaming or whatever, or body shaming, but like, god damn, dude, just fucking hit the gym first, you know what I mean? Not to sound too much like Jordan Peterson, but honestly, just find your fucking chin, dog, okay? Just find your chin first, and then, maybe then you can at least act like, you know, there's like some fucking supreme behavior going on there. Motherfuckers look like they hate Hitler. Anyway, Ian Miles Chong said they had gay power written on front. Yeah, dude, these guys definitely seem like a bunch of Palestinian and LGBT activists and not a bunch of fucking Nazis, dude. God damn, dude. Also, it's not saying gay. It's like they're saying like they're crossing out gay, I think. Oh, it's saying goy. It's not saying gay power. It's saying goy power. Oh, never mind. Oh, it says goy power. That's saying goys. Yeah. The Dersh had some fucking takes on Bernie. Very exciting that the definitely not a pedophile Alan Dershowitz was dusted off the shelf to come back and attack fucking Bernie Sanders. But before we watch this, boys, it is fucking top of the hour, and what that means is there's a 60-second ad break coming to you right now. So we're gonna watch that, but or wait, we're gonna finish the Ben Shabibo video really quickly. But before we finish the Ben Shabibo video, here's the ad break. If you don't want to see the fucking ads, all you need to do is subscribe. Here's the 1-minute ad. Now I have to pee really bad.
Anti-Semitism. Not everybody who doesn't like Israel is an anti-Semite, but every anti-Semite is anti-Israel. Okay, so it's pretty incredible to see these narratives trotted out. Perhaps the dumbest narrative, of course, is the narrative trotted out by Trevor Noah. So yesterday, Trevor Noah literally said that Israel should stop defending itself because they're too good at defending themselves.
Just personally, I cannot watch that footage and hear those numbers and see a fair fight. Like, set aside motives and intentions and just look at technology alone. Israel has one of the most powerful militaries in the world. And I know that people are going to hate me for this, but I just want to ask an honest question here. If you are in a fight where the other person cannot beat you, how hard should you retaliate when they try to hurt you?
As hard as you need to make them stop hurting you. Also, by hurt you, I think that he is making a pretty significant category error here. There's a difference between a child trying to physically harm me and a terrorist group firing rockets at people and murdering them. The answer is, as much as you need to do to stop Hamas's capacity to commit terror attacks. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because the entire American left has also decided that if a black girl swings a knife at another black girl, the cop shouldn't shoot her because of power imbalance or some such nonsense. None of this is shocking. It's just morally blind. And moral blindness is the name of the game when it comes to the American and international left. The battle for the culture is heating up. We here at the Daily Wire are making some big moves. So be sure to like.
Okay, I got to run that back. Sorry. I'm sorry. The battle for the culture.
Okay, and this is, by the way, why you are seeing Jews getting beat up in different places in the United States.
My favorite part was, just as I got up to pee, Ben Shapiro said, he said, not all anti-Zionists are anti-Semites, but all anti-Semites are anti-Zionist. And that is the funniest lie that Ben has ever told, okay? Like, literally, Viktor Orban is right there, okay? I mean, fucking Bibi Netanyahu himself could be considered anti-Semitic. Or no, he didn't say anti-Zionist, sorry. He said all anti-Semites are... He said anti-Semites are anti-Israel? No, he didn't say all anti-Semites are anti-Israel.
Yesterday in Florida, there was a truck that was driving around to Jewish rallies that saying Hitler was right. Okay, the conflation between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. Not everybody who doesn't like Israel is an anti-Semite, but
he said not everybody who doesn't like Israel is an anti-Semite. Okay, true.
Anti-Semite is anti-Israel.
But every anti-Semite is anti-Israel. It's literally not true. Yeah, I Are you guys not understanding, or am I not understanding? Or did I say it incorrectly?
Anti-Semite, but every anti-Semite.
He said not everybody who doesn't like Israel is an anti-Semite. He's saying that, yeah, I heard it correctly. I guess I misspoke. He said not everybody who likes Israel is an anti-Semite, which is true. Okay, but every anti-Semite is anti-Israel, and that is not true. There are plenty.
Semite is anti-Israel. Okay, so it's pretty.
There are plenty of anti-Semites that love Israel. Okay, there are a lot of anti-Semites that fucking love Israel. You said Zionist instead of Israel? Yeah, I think I said Zionist instead of Israel. And that's what threw people off. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Ben has literally defended anti-Semites and their anti-Semitism because they're pro-Israel. Like, anti-Semites love Israel. It's like Israel fucking is killing Muslims, which anti-Semites obviously fucking also hate Muslims a lot of times. And also it's a place for all the Jews to go to. Like, so, no, it's like a double whammy for a fuckload of anti-Semites, dude. I mean, Richard Spencer is a fucking Nazi who's like pro-Jewish state.
Pretty incredible to see these narratives trotted out. Perhaps the dumbest narrative, of course, is the narrative trotted out by Trevor Noah. So yesterday, Trevor Noah literally said that Israel should stop defending itself because they're too good at defending themselves.
Just personally, I cannot watch that footage and
I mean, he kind of did say that.
And see a fair fight.
He kind of did say that.
Like, set aside motives and intentions and just look at technology alone. Israel has one of the most powerful militaries in the world. And I know that people are going to hate me for this, but I just want to ask an honest question here. If you are in a fight where the other person cannot beat you, how hard should you retaliate when they try to hurt you?
As hard as you need to make them stop hurting you. Also, by hurt you, I think that he is making a pretty significant category error here. There's a difference between a child trying to physically harm me and a terrorist group firing rockets at people and murdering them. The answer is,
the answer is Israel is doing exactly that, but in a way that is so disproportionate and so unacceptable. Yeah. Exactly. I'm glad that Ben, in the end, comes around to accepting that Israel's brutality needs to end.
need to do to stop Hamas's capacity to commit terror attacks. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised because the entire American left has also decided.
Sorry, I didn't realize Ben was just advocating for self-defensive genocide.
That if a black girl swings a knife at another black girl, the cop shouldn't shoot her because of power imbalance or some such nonsense. None of this is shocking. It's just morally blunt.
Oh, he just fucking made up a new thing. Okay. Why rockets are raining down on innocent Israelis? Oh God. Okay, I can't. One is enough, I think. I can't do another one. Okay, I'll do another one. I'm like actually worried he's gonna show fucking blood or some shit though. Hold on. Okay, one more.
They fired over 1,000 rockets over the course of the last 36 hours toward the most populated areas of Israel. There are onlookers who are shouting their celebration. They don't care who they killed. Okay, they fired 200 rockets that landed on their own people. They don't care. Overnight,
it's not true.
Hundreds more rocket attacks on Israel by Hamas, which is a terrorist group. A little bit of history for you. Hamas is an openly genocidal group. They have said over and over and over that they wish for Israel not to exist. This is not a conflict over land. This is not a conflict over borders. This is not a conflict over a right to return. This is a conflict in which one side wishes to.
Was that Gaza?
1,000 rockets over the course of the last.
Is he actually showing footage of Gaza? That right video at the start is from Syria in 2018.
Last 36 hours for the most populated area.
Yo, I love the videos from 2018 Syria. Okay, my favorite is when like there is different layers of like Israel defense, right? So you have at the tippy top, you have like, you know, yeah, Israel's actions are kind of condemnable, but like they have a right to exist, so they have to do a little bit of genocide. Like, fucking chill out, okay? Then a layer beneath it is like, well, fucking Hamas asked for it. That's why we got to do it. Also, fuck Palestinians, kind of. And then there is the people that are like, well, this is just evictions. This is just like a land grab, or this is just a crisis over evicting Palestinians because, you know, Israel is the real landlord there. And then the real mega big brain take here is that actually this conflict has nothing to do with borders or land. Then what the fuck is it, dude? Like, what is going on there then? It's fucking great. Ben is like, actually, it's just murderous anti-Jewish ideology. And that's where this conflict is coming from. Like, it's like, what the fuck? It is the most like five head take, dude. Or just like, actually, the conflict is just purely motivated by anti-Semitism. The reason why Palestinians were even there to begin with, anti-Semitism. They knew that there would be a Jewish state planted there by colonial powers. And because of that, they actually lived there for hundreds of years on purpose, getting ready to do anti-Semitism in the future. Actually, hypothetically, Jews, Christians, and Palestinian Muslims coexisted in that region for years under other occupying forces or under imperial powers as a consequence of anti-Semitism that they were going to do in the future. The real anti-Semitism is when they predict the future and behave accordingly.
Areas of Israel. There are onlookers who are shouting their celebration.
This is where the air sirens are, right? So it's not even like where the fucking bombs are. It's just like showing where areas that are, areas that are declared under attack, and therefore you should go to a bomb shelter. And then he proceeds to show a fucking video not from Israel, but from Syria, I think this on the left is just the defense system that they have, the Iron Dome.
Hey, they fired 200 rockets that landed on their own people. They don't care. Overnight, hundreds more rocket attacks on Israel by Hamas, which is a terrorist group. A little bit of history for you. Hamas is an openly genocidal group. They have said over and over and over that they wish for Israel not to exist.
Okay, we already
win an
watched
election,
this.
by the way, in the West Bank, which is the reason for all of this.
Wait, hold on.
And this has been their long-stated goal. And they were about to win an election, by the way, in the West Bank, which is the reason for all of this. The recent history here is that in late April, Mahmoud Abbas...
What? Bro, literally, Ben Shapiro, if someone did a supercut of Ben Shapiro reporting on Israel-Palestine, but just flipped Israel to Palestine and just flipped like, Mahmoud Abbas or Hamas to IDF and also Netanyahu, it would literally be the most woke and accurate fucking take on Israel I have ever seen. It is insane that, like, his argument is literally the opposite of what is going on, where it's like pure projection, and he just straight up is like talking about, like, okay.
Who again is a terrorist. Mahmoud Abbas treated as a legit world leader by much of the world community, but is not. Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinian Authority, which is a terrorist organization, but a slightly less terrorist.
Mahmoud Abbas is also a terrorist organization, and so there is no Palestinian leadership or Palestine or Palestinians that are not terrorists then. I just didn't understand. Oh, he's just slightly less terrorist. Got it.
Organization than Hamas. He had declared that there would be elections in April, the first elections since 2004. He is now in the 16th year of a 4-year term.
I guess if you want to support ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, you got to make it seem like literally every Palestinian is a terrorist, right?
Mahmoud Abbas. So he declared elections. Then it appeared he was going to lose. So he canceled the elections in late April and blamed the Jews, because this is what you do if you are a Palestinian leader.
Mahmoud Abbas is criticized by Palestinians for literally using Israeli authorities to personally quash the opposition that he might get from the left. For the record. And not because, like, not because I guess the Jews are responsible for this election. But
because this is what you do if you are a Palestinian leader who is suddenly got their feet to the fire. So Mahmoud Abbas cancels the election. He blames the Jews, and he starts ramping up calls for violence. Hamas, not to be outdone, because the way that you apparently garner support is to show that you hate the Jews even more than the guy next to you.
Okay, literally do the flip. Do the flip. Do the flip. Netanyahu's government, Netanyahu has tried to form a coalition government for the past, in the past 2 years, 4 times in a row. He has failed to do so. And apparently, the only way to garner support from the rest of Israel is by making sure that Palestinians are brought to heel. Like, literally just describing the fucking, the intricate details of like, Netanyahu's circumstance. But as though it is like a boss. It's fucking crazy, dude.
Hamas, it's
not also funding Hamas. Israel used terrorist groups like Haganah, Irgun, and Lechi brigades to terrorize Palestinians and make them leave their lands in the past. I wonder who the real terrorist is here. It's wild.
Besides, they are going to ramp up the violence. This all culminates in violence on the Temple Mount, spurred by Hamas, spurred by Fatah.
It's insane. Yes, they were protesting. They were protesting the Israeli occupying forces not allowing Muslims to come in and do prayer at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and how they were protesting peacefully, but also the presence of Muslims in Al-Aqsa is always threatening. So, of course, there can never be any peaceful protest. But they were Hamas. They were Hamas. Actually, they were Hamas.
People using the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a holy site to Muslims, as an actual staging base to perform acts of terrorism.
Dude, shut the fuck up, dude. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God.
and violence against police officers, Israeli police officers. And then when Israel goes in to stop that, then...
Okay. But also, but Fatah is also Hamas, yes. Like, because they're all Palestinian, dude. He's just fucking racist, dog. What do you want? Of course he's going to say Fatah is the same as Hamas. There's no power struggle there. They're all Palestinian. And obviously, Palestinians have a skull density that is different than, of course, the Jewish person, which, of course, implies that they are inferior genetically, of course, which is why all of them want to do terrorism and kill all Jewish people. Like, that's just... He's just fucking racist as shit. That's why he's like, yeah, Fatah, Hamas, all Palestinians, they all want the same.
The rocket fire begins from Hamas, which has decided to up the ante. So, number one, let's just...
Like, you have accessible information in front of you. You can do your due diligence and be like, what is the motivating principle here? What are the motivating reasons for this? Or you could just be like Ben Shabibo and turn around and be like, Hamas is in the wrong. And, I mean, obviously, they are for fucking firing rockets, regardless. But, like, they are unprovoked. All of this happened. Israel did nothing wrong. They've never done anything wrong. And it's all the fault of Palestinians, which are all Hamas. Like, and those Muslims that were praying, Ramadan actually is a fake holiday. It's not an Islamic holiday. It's made up. Hypothetically, Ramadan actually was a made-up holiday by the Muslims to go into Al-Aqsa, into the mosque, which is not supposed to be a mosque, and scare Jews into submission with their superpower praying powers.
Just recognize a quick truth. None of this would be happening right now in terms of this heavy rocket fire from Gaza if Israel had not unilaterally made the concession in 2005 to pull out of the Gaza Strip completely. Remember, Israel had Jewish areas of the Gaza...
Bro, he's literally like... Oh, one other thing I want to mention about the IDF, by the way. The IDF, before fucking going into Al-Aqsa Mosque, had stopped Jewish people from going into the surrounding region. Now, you might be thinking, well, they did that because they wanted to stop conflict. No, motherfucker. They literally stopped Jewish people from going into the surrounding regions of Al-Aqsa to participate in their own holiday because they were going to go beat the shit out of everyone else that's there, and they don't want to accidentally fucking gas their own people. Okay? Sorry. Anyway. But yeah, no, totally. It's just Israel didn't pull out Jewish people from Gaza Strip so they could fucking do an endless bombing campaign and ethnically cleanse all of Gaza eventually. That's what it is. It's really unfortunate that they pulled out. They should have been fucking more devastating to Gaza.
There were Jewish areas in the northern Gaza Strip. There were these little cities in the northern Gaza Strip. They had greenhouses. They were quite prosperous. In 2005, Israel unilaterally withdrew in order, supposedly, to push for a new peace deal. The idea was going to be, look, Israel is giving up this land, and now it's another stone in the wall of peace that's going to be built right here. Instead, Hamas immediately rushed in, burned all the greenhouses, and then started building up its rocket bases for use against the state of Israel. And what this has resulted in is most of Israel is now under the umbrella of terror. From the north, Israel is under the umbrella of Hezbollah, which is an Iranian-backed terror group in Lebanon. They have apparently 150,000 rockets. If you think it's bad right now with Hamas firing hundreds of rockets a day, wait until it's Hezbollah firing thousands of rockets a day. And then from the south, they are under assault from Hamas, a terrorist group located in the Gaza Strip. Palestinian Islamic Jihad is located in both.
Hamas not founded until 2007? No, it's not. It's like 87 is when it first formed. But Ben Shapiro's videos are so dense with misinformation or half-truths, it literally hurts to watch them. It's fucking, it's like, one, Israel has nukes. Two, Israel has an Iron Dome. Three, Israel has way more firepower than Hamas does, okay? And lastly, it all still comes down to like Ben is acting like what Hamas did is so repugnant that they destroyed greenhouses and built rocket bases. Motherfucker, that is repugnant. Except Israel literally prevents the Gaza Strip from getting clean water and destroys wells and literally limits the quantity of water that Palestinians can get. What the fuck are you saying? You're like upset that greenhouses were destroyed? Like, okay, virtually every single criticism that you have of Hamas, you can 100-fold launch back at Israel for what they have done to the Palestinian people. And that's the worst part, okay? Because the Palestinian people are trapped. They're stuck. Palestinian people also are not all Muslim, for the record. A lot of you probably don't even know this. If you only watch Ben Shapiro, you definitely don't know this. But, like, Palestinian people are trapped. Okay? They have, on the one side, the only, like, militant resistance group that they have to Israel's occupation is fucking Hamas. All of the other militant liberation groups have been completely stopped and completely ended. Okay? And also, on the West Bank side, you have the Palestinian Authority, which is also toothless and doesn't do a good enough job at protecting its own citizens. They have nowhere else to go. They have no fucking elections or anything like that to like demonstrate their anger or anything like that. And then worst of all, they can't even begin the democratic process because they're under occupation by the Israeli state. So they're trapped in from every fucking part. So if you're a liberal and you're progressive, but you still are like, unconditionally in support of Israel's actions, just remember how fucking stuck you felt that Donald Trump was your fucking president, okay? Then add on an endless occupation by, like, I don't know, the fucking Chinese government or some shit, and that you don't have water. Like, you have no access to fucking clean water, and your electricity is rationed by the Chinese government. And also on top of that, they're literally nonstop bombing your neighborhoods. Your cousins died. Your school got blown up. And the Chinese government's going on the news and saying, like, well, actually, the American terrorists are using you and your family members as a meat shield, as a human shield, and there's nothing we can do, but we have to keep bombing you.
Judea, Samaria, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. So Israeli citizens basically live under the
Yes, Hamas in certain parts is funded by the Israeli government, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, yes, Israel thought Hamas would be a fundamentalist religious, Hamas would be a good counterweight to the other Marxist liberation groups, okay? Or leftist liberation groups, or more moderate liberation groups. That's why they fucking participated in funding Hamas. But ultimately, that's just what the Palestinian people have. There's nothing that they have. How does Hamas get its rockets if it's bordered by Israel? One, they make their own. They fucking craft their shitty ass rockets that don't go anywhere. And two, I think they get some from Iran as much as like Iran can smuggle in.
Constant threat that at any moment things could go up in flames and all of a sudden they could be living underground. So I was texting with a bunch of friends in Israel last night who were literally texting from bunkers. Many of them had been giving 45-second, 60-second, 90-second warnings to get underground as soon as humanly possible, because the fact is that Israel is a tiny, tiny country. Okay? And it is a tiny country surrounded by malevolent countries that do not wish it well. This is why the Trump breakthrough in terms of actually creating alliances and helping to foster alliances between Israel and places like the United Arab Emirates and places like Sudan and places like Morocco, why this was such a good thing. The Biden administration immediately blew it. Okay, so there are a few events that led up to this. One was Abbas canceling the election and then having to demonstrate to the Palestinians that mostly it was Israel and we need to blame Israel and let's...
Bro, this is hilarious. This is literally Netanyahu. Like, this is literally Netanyahu failing to form a government and using the ultimate fucking red herring of like, Palestinians are the devil. Look how fucking aggressive they are. Now is not the time for any of this. We must unite as united Israel to fucking end the Palestinian scourge. That's it. That's literally what he's just like. He's just flipping the narrative on
let's
it.
have a competition as to who hates Israel most. It's also a smart move by Abbas in the sense that Hamas, in going all the way in shooting rockets into Israel, was going to be also the chief recipient of Israeli return fire. So Abbas is basically having the Israelis do his dirty work by killing off all of Hamas's leadership. So this is one of the things that's happening as well. The other thing that happened is that
he's saying that, like, I'm confused. He's saying that Abbas is, like, coordinating with Israel to, like, bomb Gaza? What? Dude, if I said half this shit by, like, the sides that are, like, so fucking untrue, like, if I said this, like, you would call me rightfully an anti-Semite. If I said, like, the Israeli authorities are collaborating with the Palestinian Authority to, like, bomb Gaza in an effort to, like, offer more power to Abbas, like, you would literally be like, that's fucking insane. It's just crazy, dude.
the Biden administration, upon entering office, immediately signified that it wanted to push Israel into making concessions to these terror groups, that it would restore funding to the UNRWA, which is an agency specifically dedicated toward fostering Palestinian extremism, that the United States would restore to...
Like, how did Abbas predict, or, like, how did Abbas get Hamas to fucking fire rockets into Israel? Like, is there just like a disconnect? He's not saying that they're coordinating, but he's saying that, like, I guess Abbas knew that, like, Hamas would retaliate. So what? He, like, placed innocent Palestinians in Al-Aqsa to do prayer because they all knew that, like, Israel would behave in this incredibly violent, animalistic way. Like, the Israeli soldiers would just, like, go in there and brutalize them. So doesn't that still automatically fucking turn it around and be like, but it's still fucking the IDF that kind of started this?
$290 million worth of foreign aid to the Palestinian Authority, much of which would be used for terrorism.
Why do you fight for the Palestinian side? Why can't you fight/argue for peace? Everyone has a different opinion than you is wrong in your eyes. Why can't you fight for neither side? Because they are both at least attempting to kill people. Well, because I fight for the Palestinian side because I understand that the innocent Palestinians are suffering significantly more than the innocent Israelis are. And there are innocent Israelis. There are plenty of fucking Israeli people that don't deserve to be scared shitless every goddamn day. That, like, rocket fire is occurring above their heads. But ultimately, like, if the roles were reversed and there was a Palestinian state that was oppressing the Israeli Jews that lived there, and they had pushed them into a fucking ghetto that they bomb relentlessly and cut off their access to fucking water and occupied a territory that is, like, historically important for the Jews, that Jews have been living there for fucking hundreds of years, I would literally be advocating against the Muslims and the Palestinians in that circumstance. Because it's about, like, which side is committing the acts of genocide and ethnic cleansing. I can't fathom such a thing. Get out of here with that nonsense. What?
And fostering of terrorism. Okay, so the United States basically reopened the door. The Trump administration said, no, we are making very clear who our allies are here, and if you engage in terror, the money ain't coming your way. And things were calm, and things were quiet. And then the Biden administration came in, and within months, you have this massive conflagration, which is now on the verge of all-out war. And the reason it's on the verge of all-out war is because Israel literally has millions of its citizens now living underground. Okay, so to understand this conflict, the thing you really need to understand is the map. Okay, so there are a few maps I'm going to show you right now. The first map shows you the actual range of fire from Gaza. Okay, the distances from the Gaza Strip to various Israeli cities. Okay, what you will see here is that the distances are tiny. Israel is a tiny postage stamp of a country. The distance from Gaza, the Gaza Strip, which is located in the southwest corner of Israel. The distance from the Gaza Strip to Ashkelon, which is a city that has been under steady rocket fire over the course of the last 3 days, is about 13 miles. That's the distance, 13 miles. The distance from the Gaza Strip to Tel Aviv, this was considered a long shot for Hamas until recently. That distance is about 44 miles.
So what's up? Like they got better at like building rockets? Like what's he trying to say?
Okay, not a long, less than an hour car ride. Significantly less than an hour car ride. The distance from Gaza to Jerusalem, which is sort of in the center of the country, is only 47 miles. From Gaza to Ashdod, it's 24 miles. Okay, what does this mean? It means that when you fire rockets, people have pretty much no warning. Okay, here is a map of the warning times when a rocket is fired. Okay, if a rocket were to be fired...
That's literally a lie, dude. Hamas straight up said 6 p.m. Like, you have until 6 p.m. Not that, like, you negotiate with terrorists or whatever, but, like, their fucking demand is not unreasonable. Their demand was literally, like, let Palestinians fucking pray at Al-Aqsa and don't evict the fucking Palestinians. So that's not even true to say that, like, you have 2 years. This motherfucker's talking about shelters. By the way, this is crazy. I didn't know this is what shelters look like. God damn.
Shelter works in Israel. Let's go. So this one's in an apartment. You open the door, come inside. Come on, Doobie. And then there's another door, this really big heavy door. So we're gonna close that.
Not all of them. This is wild,
That's
dude.
bolted shut. There's the normal door, which you can also close as well.
Their demand was destruction of Israel and murdering all Jews. That's literally not true, you fucking idiot. Yes, Hamas is anti-Semitic. Yes, Hamas does want to murder as many Jews as possible. But if you are to say that their demands in that circumstance were to fucking murder all Jews and destroy Israel, then you're fucking wrong. You are literally wrong. They said, pull out of fucking Al-Aqsa, pull your troops out of Al-Aqsa and allow Muslims to go to fucking, allow Palestinians to be able to go and pray, and also don't evict the fucking Palestinians in Sheikh Jarrah.
Wow. Then we come over to the window.
This is crazy. This can't be the real
Open
shelter.
the window. Grab this big thing of steel and close it all over the window. And we can on shelter works in.
Why have I literally never heard this defense of the Palestinians? What's the agenda? The both left and right would defend Israel. Thanks for a different perspective. Now, I mean, look, that's one type of shelter, okay? When the shelters on the one side are nicer than the actual homes of the other. Yeah, like this is like probably a fucking ridiculous shelter. Someone said it's called a mamad or something, where it's like inside of an apartment, I guess. But these guys have bomb shelters, whereas the people of Gaza have nothing. Like, they have nothing. They don't have fucking bomb shelters. And their only warning, if they're lucky, is like a fucking explosive mortar that blows up on top of their apartments right before their apartment is fucking leveled. They also have the Iron Dome. It's crazy. Like, it's just, it's fucking wild, dude. I just, like, I can't fathom how you can fucking make a both sides argument on this in any capacity.
From essentially Gaza to Ashdod, you'd be talking about at most 30 seconds of warning time. If you're talking about Gaza to Jerusalem, you're talking about 1.5 minutes.
That's straight wrong. Israel does give crappy warnings with roof knocks where they send dud bombs. I just said that. They explode a fucking mortar on top of the building before they bomb it. Dude, that is not a fucking way to, Like, that's psychotic. It's not a justification for bombing people. There is no ethically destroying someone's house, dude. Dude, people literally don't listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth and then will repeat exactly what I said and get mad that they didn't hear what I just said.
Of warning time, about 90 seconds of warning time. If you're talking about to Tel Aviv, about the same, a little bit under 90 seconds of warning time. That means that if you're woken up at 3 a.m. by a rocket siren going off, you now have 90 seconds to grab your kids and get down into a bomb shelter before the rockets start to hit. Okay, so Hamas.
Dude, how are you gonna fucking talk about all this without a single fucking mention? Like, that's crazy, dude. I'm sorry. I completely understand that it is not a good situation for the Israelis to be in. Okay? For the citizens of Israel to be in. To be afraid that there might be fucking rockets that are flying overhead. But it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like because you might get slapped in the face, you turn around and like murder every fucking brown person in the vicinity. Like, it's nuts, and you're still talking about the striking of the face, and you cover it for 20 minutes. When, like, the retaliation is literally just, like, locking people into a fucking area and then relentlessly doing bombing campaigns in that area.
Knowing this, has been
Why
firing.
isn't he even talking about the Iron Dome? Like, I feel like in an effort to, like, grab empathy, he's, like, kind of undermining Israel's, like, robust defense system, which is a fucking impressive feat. Like, It literally feels like he's like shitting on Israel a little bit just to like heighten the fucking situation that they're under.
Firing hundreds of rockets into Israel. The reason they're firing hundreds of rockets simultaneously is because their goal is to overwhelm Israel's iron defense system. So Israel has an iron dome system. It's called the Iron Dome system.
Never mind.
And the Iron Dome system is largely
I was wrong. He got to it.
Relegated to shooting down missiles that are going to land in populated areas. So Tel Aviv has an Iron Dome system. Jerusalem has an Iron Dome system. And it's very effective. It shoots down about 90% of these rockets. But here's the problem. As you increase the number of rockets that are fired, the additional 10% in absolute number starts to go up. So here is a map of the rocket alerts. These are the sirens just over the last 30, this is over a 30-minute period last night. As you can see, the entire map is red, right? The entire map from Ashdod in the south all the way up to Hadera in the north is completely red. Okay, the reason is because they were firing hundreds of rockets. They fired over 1,000 rockets over the course of the last 36 hours from the Gaza Strip into Israel. They don't care who they hit. Okay, they don't care. Last night, Hamas killed a
I love this take. It's like Hamas doesn't care who they hit. Israel, on the other hand, cares who they hit, implying that they knowingly hit areas where there's fucking children. Like, I love that, dude. I fucking love that take. Where it's just like, Hamas doesn't care where they hit. Well, one, because they have severe limitations. They're like literally fucking tossing bathtub rockets into the sky with the hopes that it fucking lands in Israel. Okay? Whereas Israel knows where they hit and are deliberately hitting it, regardless of the children inside of it. And also, there is nowhere for those children to go to. It doesn't even fucking matter because they're locked in Gaza.
An Israeli Arab father and 7-year-old girl in Lod, which is a city that right now is actually in the middle of race riots, essentially. Okay, so Hamas started this conflict. Hamas clearly started the conflict. And now Israel has no choice. And no country can sustain this. Right? No country can allow its citizenry to be put underground.
Yeah, that was a map of sirens, not rocket impacts. Yeah,
by a terrorist group. Israel has every moral obligation to go in and decapitate the entire Hamas regime. What comes next? Who the hell knows? But Israel has a moral obligation to go in and kill every Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad leader they can find. And in fact, this is what Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, is saying. It's not just Netanyahu. It's not just about Netanyahu.
For the record, they kind of did this. So if you recall, the IDF stated that they were going to do a ground invasion. Yesterday, the IDF spokesperson said this, and like they literally gave out reports to the Associated Press, and even I covered it, and I said like, "Oh no, I think the ground invasion is starting." And turns out the IDF did that as a fucking debate, dude. Apparently, the IDF did that as a debate to lure militants. They're saying, I guess, hold on one second. Yeah, at midnight, the IDF spokesperson's English department tweeted that IDF air and ground troops currently attacking the Gaza Strip. Turns out there wasn't a ground offensive that was going to launch. They just wanted the Hamas militants to gear up for a ground offensive. I love this, like, dude, by the way, this is hilarious. Like, the way that they're talking about it is like, foreign media jumped at the tweet, interpreting it to mean that Israel was sending ground forces into Gaza. Dog. What do you mean jumped at the tweet? You literally fucking said it. Like, the job of the fucking media is to cover what's going on. You are missing an important event an hour ago. Israel has started to attack Gaza. What do you mean? Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with like people that are still trying to fucking. It depends on who's getting murdered in that situation, but trying to lure militants into an area to fucking kill them is one thing. Trying to lure people into an area where they're literally about to engage in self-defense because Israeli troops are about to occupy your region and then murdering them, not exactly the most ethical thing you can do. A better way of doing that is to, again, not fucking actually try to murder as many Palestinians as you possibly can, but instead, I don't know, stop bombing them and start peaceful negotiations to integrate Gaza and also the West Bank back into a one-state solution. But the actual worst part about this, is that heads up motherfuckers in Hoscourt are dissing you. What? I don't give a fuck. The actual worst part about this is that like you're ruining your own, like you're ruining the way that the fucking media can trust you as a resource in the future. The problem was there was no ground invasion. Yes, the IDF had deployed troops along the border, but they did not cross into Gaza. What did happen was in the air where 160 aircraft had assembled for a massive bombing run over the Gaza Strip. Their target was what the IDF called Hamas's metro, an underground network of tunnels, which Hamas used to store its weapons and move throughout Gaza hidden from Israeli aircraft. The metro had been built in the years after the 2014 war in the Gaza Strip, also known in Israel as Operation Protective Edge. It was a network of dozens of kilometers of tunnels that crisscrossed Gaza and provided safety from Israeli aerial incursions. Due to the deployment along the border and the news coming out in the foreign media of a ground incursion, Hamas and Islamic Jihad sent their first line of defense into the tunnels to start taking up positions. They were the anti-tank missile teams and mortar squad meant to strike at incoming Israeli ground forces. Like, this is where the lines of like Hamas literally engaging in self-defense and Hamas doing offensive terrorism become one and the other. Like, why are we looking at this as though these dudes don't have a fucking right to straight up stop Israeli tanks from coming into the Gaza Strip? Like, if anything, this legitimizes Hamas's position as a defensive fucking military force. You can say stop defending Hamas all you want. But, like, how the fuck can you... How do you justify this? At that point, it makes Hamas the Gazan military. Once again, Israel unironically ends up like legitimizing Hamas's position as like the only fucking savior that Palestinians can rely on. It's crazy. It wasn't just a tweet. It was confirmed by the IDF personnel to foreign media. Yeah, I know. I was there. I saw the fucking original take. I know. That's why I covered it. So what are you supposed to do? Like what are people supposed to do? Yeah, every single casualty from yesterday is like literally a fucking civilian. All that blood is on Israel's hands. Then they're like, we're just gonna fucking we're coming in. What a gift Israel has given to Hamas. I talked to an online friend of mine from Gaza. He's only 17, had to leave his house with his family at 3 a.m. because it was bombed to rubble. He now lives in his school and waits to go fight with his brothers when the invasion happens. He's not even part of Hamas. Fucking sad, man.
Yair Lapid, who's in the opposition, feels the same way. The Benny Gantz, who's in the opposition, feels the same way. He's the current defense minister. Okay, there's widespread Israeli acknowledgement that just like if...
Wouldn't the people of Gaza want Israel to take out Hamas in hopes of a better future? If Israel is fucking murdering them, I'm pretty sure they're probably going to end up siding with the people that are technically, in their eyes, the only fucking line of defense against the people that are literally bombing them.
You, in your city, were put under...
You are forcing the people of Gaza who have been trapped inside of the Gaza Strip, trapped by Israel, into siding with the aggressive, fundamentalist, militant groups as their only fucking hope for any kind of self-defense.
...ground by a terrorist group living across the border, and you're told that you had to live in the basement and you were going to live under constant rocket fire, you would expect the American government to go and eviscerate that regime. Well, the same thing should be expected of any decent state, and Israel, of course, has a moral obligation to defend its own citizens, as even most members of the West acknowledge. Now, most members of the West also then participate in this moral equivalence game where they pretend that Israel is somehow an aggressor here, which is a complete lie. But as Israel does have the obligation to do this, Benjamin Netanyahu came out yesterday and said, yeah, we are not going to stop anytime soon. Like, if you think that you're going to get a ceasefire here, no, the answer is no. You don't get to fire thousands of rockets into Israel and then survive. That's not something that you get to do. Over 850 rockets have crossed into Israeli territory after being launched from Gaza. By the way, how little does Hamas care about its own citizens? When people say it's terrible for the Palestinians, that's true. The Palestinians are not of concern to Hamas. Hamas does not care. 200 of the rockets that they fired fell into Gaza. Okay, they fired 200 rockets that landed on their own people. They don't care. So Defense Minister Benny Gantz said that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, will continue...
By the way, Benny Gantz is supposedly the more tolerant, more liberal guy running against Netanyahu. Just remember that. This is what he had to say.
Striking Gaza until it can bring a complete and long-term peace. During a visit to Ashkelon on Wednesday, he said in the last few hours,
we're going to strike Gaza until they can commit to a long-term peace. We're going to keep beating you brutally and senselessly until, you commit to a long-term peace. It's the only way we can do it, boys. There's no other way.
The IDF has carried out a series of significant attacks. We've attacked squads of commanders and significant Hamas infrastructure. We'll continue to protect all residents of Israel. We've attacked many hundreds of targets. Towers are falling. Factories are collapsing. Tunnels are being destroyed. Commanders are assassinated. All the means and all the options are on the table. There's a lot more activity in the bank. He said the IDF will continue to attack and bring a complete long-term peace. Only when we achieve this goal can we talk about calm. There is currently no end date. We will not accept moral sermons from any organization or institution about our right and duty to protect Israeli citizens. Again, Benny Gantz is opposition to Benjamin Netanyahu. This is not about Netanyahu.
Like, you guys asked me, what should Israel do? Okay. The immediate thing that Israel should have done in order to minimize damage both to Israeli citizens, which is like literally marginal in comparison to the vast amount of child murder that has occurred